Greg Byrne, I hope you're having a great day, sir. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Hey, thanks for having me on. How's your family?
Very good, very good. Just trying to obey all the rules. It's a challenge for all of us, but even I heard Nick Saban yesterday, and I thought about a guy that crosses the bridge within 5 minutes at the same time every single morning. If he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach and I talk almost every day, and he certainly understands the significance of what we're dealing with here. And I know he's put out a number of PSAs encouraging people to stay home, practice social distancing, and washing their hands and doing the right things. Because if we do that, then we got the best chance of getting through this as quickly and as safely as possible for everybody. If we don't do that, then we'll just drag this thing out, and that's not good for anybody. So it's really important for all of us.
You are also a very programmed guy. You're a guy that arrives to the office very, very early. What is your daily routine now in the last couple of weeks?
Well, I do get up early. I've actually been sleeping in until about between 6 and 6:15 most days now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I try very, very hard to stay out of politics. Because we're one of the few things that brings everybody together. There's a columnist for the New York Times named David Brooks, who's more of a conservative writer for the Times, but I've always found his writing to be very interesting. But he wrote a column this morning, and I think if you go to the New York Times, any of the coronavirus articles are free, about how he's feeling at 5 o'clock every day, just mentally exhausted, more so than he would normally at 5. And I've actually been finding the same thing. I'm on conference calls almost the entire day long, from morning until night. I have been trying to make sure I walk and get outside and walk our dogs. But it's something that this has changed it to where we're seeing our student athletes, we're seeing our coaches, our staff, through Zoom and through over the phone. And that's very different. Regina and I are the only two at our house because our boys are on their own, and they're dealing with this in their towns that they live in now. But it's changed it. But I am trying to make sure I'm doing what I can mentally. And actually, Ryan, I'll tell you, tomorrow morning I'm going to send out a tweet that there's a program that I've been using for a number of years, and I want to make it very clear I will receive no benefit from doing this. Okay, this is not a marketing thing on my part. There's a program called Vision Pursue I've been using for a number of years. A friend of mine, John Curry, he used to be the AD at Tennessee and is now the AD at Wake Forest, turned me on to it a number of years ago. And it helps with anxiety. It helps with mindfulness. And, I've meditated, which I've never done before. And I was talking to the founder of it, and he is going to offer people who follow me on Twitter the opportunity basically to get a 12-day trial run to try it for free if they like it. Then instead of the $10 a month, it's $5 a month, and they can do it as an app and do it at home. And I can tell you for myself, about 3 years ago, I actually suffered anxiety for the first time in my life. I never had. I'm pretty steady Eddie, and it wasn't completely debilitating, but it was emotions that I had never ever felt before. And so this program really helped me through this. And I can tell you right now, as we're going through that, through something that none of us in our lifetimes have ever been through, the mental health of what we're doing is so important. And so I was really appreciative of the fact that Russ from Vision Pursue was willing to do this. Because on Saturday mornings, I tried to put something out to try to encourage social distancing. And I've tried to give away some things to our fans who follow me and on Twitter, and way to engage and have some, hopefully bring a few smiles to a few faces. And so I'm going to do that tomorrow morning. But that's part of my routine and what I do now.
We're talking with Greg Byrne. You can connect with him as the social networks at Greg_Byrne available there. Greg, when I started watching this go through, my immediately thought went to the people that, we talk about buying up groceries that don't have that necessity and don't have that luxury of having extra cash, or, the kids now at home that talk about, now they're going to feed an extra meal, or maybe it's 4 or 5 extra meals a week. But I'm curious, when you talk about student athletes that live on campus that don't have a place to go back to, is there athletes like that that don't have a place to go, and what arrangements have been made?
Yeah, there are. We have in town total out of our 650 student athletes. I think we're at about 85 who are in town. A few of them, a little over a dozen, are on campus still living in dorms. The university's been very accommodating to help with that for those students. We have so there's been housing that we've been able to help with. There's some, from a safety standpoint, being in Tuscaloosa is the best place for them. With their family or whatever it may be. And then we also are doing grab-and-go food for them where they can come to our dining hall and we'll bring food out to them 3 days a week and give them multiple meals at the same time so they've got something to eat. Our training staff and mental health staff has been very helpful and accommodating to work with them for any mental health issues they're having. We have another app that we use for our student athletes called Mindspace, and we've got that out to our student athletes for them to use that within the confines of wherever they're living, so they can have some mental health support on their own as well. So there's multiple things that we're doing, and not to mention obviously academic help as they've started classes online through our academic staff too. So we're trying to do everything we can to support them through these very, very challenging times and the responsibility we have for them. And I'm really proud of the job our staff is doing to help manage these times.
We were talking to Greg Byrne as we're talking about the University of Alabama. When you look at the forecast of where we are, and I know Nick Saban hates hypotheticals, and you may be the same, but is there a scenario that you're looking at when you look at college football about 155 days away from USC out in Arlington, Texas? Is there a scenario? Yeah, I mean, the best scenario would just be play that on that day, and we hope that we can eradicate this virus and we can all get back to some normal style of living. But as you look ahead, I mean, what is your mindset? What's your thoughts on the different things that have been thrown around, the possibilities?
Yeah, Ryan, working in hypotheticals is challenging. What I can tell you is our goal, and that's why we're trying to encourage everybody to take this seriously, is to be fully functioning in the fall and have a football season and volleyball and soccer, and that's what we want to have happen. Now, part of what you also do is you look at scenarios and be ready if you have to change. And so, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with those because there can be a ton of different scenarios you can talk about. But, part of what we're doing as administration is doing our best to be prepared for what those different scenarios could look like. But right now, our goal and our focus and what our hope is that we're functioning in the fall as a country and everybody is safe and we're able to get back together. And, I talk all the time about what a uniter sports is. And there's no place that's a better example than at the University of Alabama. And so we want to do everything we can to have this opportunity comes along, but we've obviously balancing that with what's right for the safety and well-being of our student athletes, for our fans, and for everybody in our state and our country.
Well, you look at 2011. I mean, we're talking about a galvanizing moment, April 27th, 2011 here, and the athletic department played a very crucial role in giving our community something to kind of excited about, a distraction as we rebuilt our lives after the April 27th storm. You can kind of see where sports is that, and maybe that'll serve that same role this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw a poll yesterday or the day before that from, I think it was males 18 to 45 years old, the thing they miss the most right now is sports. I don't know how that was asked or the context of it. I hope everybody would say their family they're not with, but we all miss sports. It's such a unifier, and obviously I wasn't here for the tornado when that happened. I was actually living in Tucson, so I followed it from afar. But I certainly do remember September 11th, and when we all got back together and President Bush threw out the first pitch at the Yankees game, and that still sends chills down your spine when you think about what that meant. And I can't wait for that opportunity for us. And obviously there's a lot of really tough, challenging news that we're watching right now, the realities of what we're facing as a country and as a world and as a state at the same time too. It's also been very heartwarming to see all the kindness that's out there. And every time you get frustrated with our society, and there are people that are make bad decisions and things like that impact our society from a negative standpoint. But I truly believe and never want to lose hope that I think the great majority of all people are good people that want to see good things happen and want to support one another. And I think we're even seeing that, as challenging as it is, through this pandemic as well.
A couple of weeks ago, I read an article around Scott Strickland. It was Mike Bianchi, the Orlando Sentinel, and he was quoted in that article that football makes up about 85% of the budget, and talking about the different scenarios. Would you be willing to disclose? I mean, I don't know what football does here. Is that a pretty similar number, or do you know that offhand?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about our budget, as you can imagine, right now, and that's a fair number. Scott's one of my closest friends, and he and I talk collectively a lot, and that's probably a fair number. I think for most schools in the SEC, our budgets would be somewhere in that range.
Well, with that being said, would you be open as an athletic director, as one of the big pioneers of this business, and you look at the University of Alabama, when people talk from here, people listen, would you be open to a schedule adjustment for football just to get it in from a financial standpoint if we're not able to do it in the regular dates?
Well, I think, Ryan, I think that kind of goes back to my earlier answer. What we have to do is prepare like we'll be able to compete in the fall. But you also have to prepare for different scenarios, and that's what we'll be doing. I can tell you that we've been so consumed with the here and now, with the well-being of our student athletes, of all the moving parts because of the impact on our spring sports season. We've been obviously working a lot on spring eligibility for our seniors who lost their senior year. Even still in this, we've been talking to them about name, image, and likeness, and we've been talking about transfers and some things that are on the docket as we speak. And so that has just been a tiny part of our conversation, but it's something that when it's appropriate, we'll continue to evolve in our conversation.
We watched the NCAA maybe put some responsibility back to the universities about the eligibility, and some of those that the eligibility would have set to expire. Has that discussion came up, and where is that currently with you?
On the eligibility for the seniors?
Yeah, because I think that would push back to the financial responsibility. I guess the way that I understood it was if the universities could financially afford it, then that would be the option. Yeah,
so where we landed is that it'll be an institutions will have their own flexibility on what they want to do with their seniors. Our goal is to allow that for all of our senior student athletes who lost their year in the spring. Now, I don't think all of them will take up the offer. I think some will have moved on. So I would be surprised if it's 100% participation. But we want to be we want to offer that to as many kids as we possibly can.
Greg Byrne, thank you so much. I know we're a little bit over time there, and we're waiting the governor to also speak and may update us on some criteria and some requirements. And I think she's going to be stepping up to that podium, not trying to preempt our conversation, but we've got to get down to Montgomery for a press conference. Greg, thank you so much, and thanks for the spots that you've been part of supporting us locally here in Tuscaloosa. Thank you for giving us a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Ryan, for what you do. Roll Tide, everybody.